Hello and welcome to Squatchbot.com. I'm Darren Smith, and I absolutely hope that all of you out there are okay and that you and your loved ones are well. This global crisis that we're experiencing is an absolute nightmare, and I truly hope we get through it quickly, and I sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are okay. And speaking of nightmares, I am still losing sleep over the incident that occurred last month when we encountered the Sasquatch up in that new area of interest. I do think that something very sinister was happening that day. I absolutely believe that the Sasquatch were trying to lure me into that heavy brush area so that they could ambush me. And for those of you who haven't seen that video yet, I will add a link here so that you can do that. I absolutely believe that there was something very sinister happening that day. And I posted a poll for you guys to voice your opinions, and 60% of you who responded to that poll also believe that the Sasquatch were trying to ambush me. So that's very concerning because I'm an independent researcher that spends a lot of time alone in the woods looking for these creatures, and it's very concerning to think that they may be out to get me. So that is very concerning. Another thing I posted was about the technology failures that we had that day. And as you saw in the video, my omnidirectional microphone went out. I turned to pause it when an airplane was flying overhead as I was recording the sounds up in the embankment. And it was able to capture a couple of very compelling audio recordings. However, when I turned to pause it, I discovered it had malfunctioned and it was completely powered down. It had plenty of battery life, and there was no explanation for why it had malfunctioned. But at that point, I grabbed my Zoom 3D sound recorder and I plugged it into the parabolic microphone, and I continued recording the sounds I was hearing up on the embankment. And when I got home, I discovered that this recorder also malfunctioned. And when I was doing the editing on the video, I discovered that this recorder had several missing files, just files that were missing. And I have never experienced that before on this recorder or any other recorder. So that was truly concerning. But that's not all. This video camera that I used to record my YouTube videos also malfunctioned that day. And when I got home to do the editing of that video, I discovered that this video camera was missing video files. So now we have an audio recorder that's missing audio files and a camera that's missing video files. I don't think that this is all coincidental. And that's not all. The fourth piece of technology that failed that day was my Garmin GPS unit. I powered this on as I moved into the woods to follow the bipedal movement that I was hearing because I wanted to make certain that I wasn't going to get lost in the woods. So I was very sure of myself to power this thing on and to make sure it was working before I went following the bipedal movement that I was hearing. And I was moving around in the woods a lot following that creature. And when it moved, when I was down in that area where the heavy brush was and that bird was screeching incessantly, at that point I decided that I was in a very dangerous situation and it was important for me to retreat. I looked at the Garmin GPS unit and it was completely powered down. So that's 4 pieces of technology that malfunctioned while we were in close proximity to the Sasquatch. I absolutely do not believe that this is coincidental, and I absolutely believe that it is somehow related to Sasquatch phenomenon, though I don't understand how. I have mentioned that I have been on numerous expeditions across the United States in search of Sasquatch, and we encountered them on 3 occasions, and on those 3 occasions, we had across the board technology failure. All the cameras, audio recorders, all the electronics had failed, and they didn't come back online until the Sasquatch moved out of the area. So this cannot be coincidental. In fact, these 3 pieces of equipment here, I have not changed the batteries on the units, and they have plenty of battery life, and they've been working perfectly, as is this camcorder. So I don't understand what's going on here, but I absolutely believe that the technology failure is somehow related to Sasquatch phenomenon. And I have told you guys this on a number of occasions. When I began this quest to look for Sasquatch, I absolutely believed I was in search of Gigantopithecus, an ape species we know once existed. However, experiencing this unexplainable technology failure while the Sasquatch are in close proximity to me leads me to believe that it has to be connected somehow. How it's connected, I don't know, but it is definitely something that I'm presenting to you guys because I think it's important that we document what's going on here. And another reason I have the equipment out is because I'm preparing to head out into the field. Even though I'm still having nightmares, I want to get back up into that area to continue our investigation. I think the Sasquatch are still up there, and I think there is a concern that they're going to be on the move soon. So I really think we need to get up there. And the only reason I haven't been up there yet is because that whole area has been getting a lot of snow these past few weeks. So the road is actually closed. It's not even possible to get up into that area. But at this point, I think that there has been a significant enough break in the storm that the roads are probably clear at this point. So I think we need to pack up and get up there. And before we do head up there, there are some interesting anomalies that I picked up on the audio recordings from that previous encounter that I'd like to share with you guys. Okay, literally just this moment, while editing this video, I discovered a very curious anomaly that occurred on the previous video footage taken from last month's encounter. I hadn't noticed this anomaly before. This clip was taken while I was recording the Sasquatch sounds on the embankment above me, and it is also the clip I discovered my audio recorder had malfunctioned and had powered down. I'm going to play back the bulk of this clip so that you can see what it is that has raised the alarm. However, I am going to speed up the playback by 2 times for time's sake. I've watched the clip a number of times, and I don't feel that the playback speed is critical. However, if you would like additional information or an altered speed on this clip, please mention it in the comment section below and I will absolutely accommodate on a future video. Also, please comment what you think this anomaly might be, and I absolutely encourage you guys to share this video with others. The more eyes on it, the better chance we have of solving this mystery. Okay, so as you watch this video clip, pay close attention to this area. Keep in mind that this audio recorder that is set up on the tripod to my right was recording. However, sometime during this clip, the recorder malfunctioned and powered down. I'm going to play the clip now, and I will return at its completion. When I first saw this anomaly, I dismissed the phenomenon as lens flare. However, as I continued to watch the video, I quickly dismissed this idea. The anomaly occurred during a continuous video clip. The camera was stationary on a tripod, and the angle, location, and intensity of the sun remained constant. So what is this unusual blue orb? I have read a number of reports from people claiming to have seen unexplainable orbs moving about in the woods at night, while they believe Sasquatch were in the area. These orbs come in many different colors and sizes, and I myself have experienced this phenomenon while on a Sasquatch expedition in the Oregon Cascades. Late at night, as I prepared for sleep, I heard a very loud crack, which was followed by a volleyball-sized ball of bluish light, which floated slowly past my tent. Although I half-heartedly dismissed this phenomenon as ball lightning, the speed of the object was uncharacteristically slow, and it has always raised doubt. And this absolutely does not explain the object in question on this video. So I'm curious what you guys think, and I invite you to leave a comment below as to what you think this anomaly may be, and what your thoughts are about orbs in general. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys is regarding the curious tapping sounds that were recorded while I was standing next to the heavy brush. Having analyzed these recordings at great length, I discovered a variance between the sounds that leads me to believe that there were at least two Sasquatch in very close proximity to me, and concerningly, one of them was situated somewhere behind me. To get your bearings, watch the video as I moved into the heavy brush area, where I stood for a considerable amount of time. From the sounds that I had heard using the parabolic microphone just prior to this shot, I believed that the Sasquatch I was following was somewhere down the hill and roughly to my right, which is why the camera is trained in that direction. However, also take note of the thick vegetation to my left. This is going to come into play in a moment. As I moved into the area, I took note of an area at the bottom of the hill just to my right that had a number of trees clustered together. This cluster created a thick barrier, and in hindsight, I believe that this is where the Sasquatch was hiding. It was in very close proximity to where the bird was screeching incessantly, and by the camera's movements, it is clear this area provoked an emotional concern for me, and as I didn't want to move closer to it, I eventually moved slightly away from it and to the left. While I was using the parabolic microphone, I was having difficulty hearing anything of interest because of the wind and the screeching bird. However, at one point I repositioned myself and trained the parabolic in the direction of the tree cluster, and shortly thereafter, the bird's screeching went up several octaves and the curious tapping sounds began. Taking into consideration where the camera was positioned in relation to me, the tapping sounds were very likely coming from that tree cluster. However, this being said, I do not believe I actually heard the tapping sounds while I was standing there. You will see the tapping sounds started after I had switched off the parabolic microphone. However, I was still wearing the headphones. And as I finished using the parabolic and was preparing to move into the brush, the camera's audio picked up another tapping sound. This time, it was somewhere behind me, which suggests to me that there was a second Sasquatch in the area. I'm going to play the video footage and I will tag the tapping sounds as they happen. You will hear two taps to my right, and then two more taps coming from my right, followed by a single tap, which is a completely different tone, and it's coming from somewhere behind me. Could these tapping sounds be some sort of covert communication between the Sasquatch as they prepare to ambush me? As I was carrying a lot of equipment, the Sasquatch probably thought I was carrying a weapon, and as it is very likely that they would be well aware of the dangers of hunters, they may have thought that the camera I was carrying, which was attached to a tripod, was a shotgun, and they were being extremely careful how they approached me. At this point, I turned off the camera and was preparing to use the parabolic microphone to pinpoint the location of the bipedal creature I was following. However, as I pushed into the heavy brush area, I reached a point where the vegetation became so thick I could not see into it, and not knowing where the creature was located or what its intentions were, I decided the safest course of action was to retreat a ways, giving the animal space, which was absolutely the right call to make. And having spent time analyzing the audio and video recordings for that day, it does appear that there were more than one of these creatures in the area, and their behavior suggests they may have been stalking me. So it's very disappointing we have to abort our attempts to get up into the location that I was shooting for today. That location being the area where I had the encounter last month. But unfortunately, there's so much snow on the road up ahead, it won't be possible for my vehicle to make it. In fact, there was a four-wheel drive, high clearance truck that headed up the road, and they too have aborted their attempts and headed back down the mountain. So clearly, if the four-wheel drive truck can't make it, there's no way my low clearance vehicle is going to have a chance. We're still quite a few miles away from that location, and I'm very anxious to get back up there because I believe the Sasquatch are still hunkered down in that area. I've done a lot of research using Google Earth, and I absolutely understand why the Sasquatch are there. And at this point, we're so late in the season, I don't believe that they're going to continue moving down off the mountain. I don't think they're going to be heading for those lower elevations. So for sure, they're not going to be down in Bass Lake, Goat Mountain, Road 426, or the North Fork area this year. In fact, at this point, I don't even think they're going to try to get below the snow line. And I think they're going to remain hunkered down where they are until this snow starts to melt off, at which point they're going to turn around and head back into those higher elevations for the approaching summer months. And those elevations are usually above 8,000 feet. So it is definitely a top priority for us to get into that area in the coming weeks. Unfortunately, we have snow in the forecast starting tonight, and I'm hoping that it's not going to be a lot of snow up here, because if this area could remain accessible, I'm thinking if the road is going to remain closed, that we might consider a backpacking trip into our research area, leaving the vehicle here and then backpacking the rest of the way. Unfortunately, I'm not geared up to do that today. And I don't know from this location if it's going to require an overnight stay. And that's something I'm going to have to look into, because if it does require that overnight stay, we want to make sure we're geared up properly for it. So that's definitely something that's on my mind. I'm going to spend some time here and kind of look around. I don't think the Sasquatch are down here, but I've been in the house literally for weeks on the shelter in place directive that we have, but we can come out and get some exercise, and I chose to come out today to get some exercise on the mountain, and I'm alone, so I'm definitely practicing my social distancing, but I'm gonna look around just to enjoy the outdoors for a little bit before I head home. But disappointing we can't get up there on this trek, but it's definitely a top priority of mine. I will keep an eye on the area, and we will get up there as quickly as possible.